God stepped out on space, and he looked around and said,
I'm lonely. I'll make me a world.
And far as the eye of God could see, darkness covered everything, blacker than 100 midnights, down in a cypress swamp.
Then God smiled, and the light broke, and the darkness rolled up on one side,
and the light stood shining on the other. And God said,
That's good.
Then God reached out and took the light in his hands, and God rolled the light around in his hands until he made the sun.
and he set that sun ablazing in the heavens, and the light that was left from making the sun, God gathered it up in a shining ball and flung it against the darkness, spangling the night with the moon and the stars.
Then down between the darkness and the light, he hurled the world, and God said,
That's good.
Then God himself stepped down, and the sun was on his right hand, and the moon was on his left. The stars were clustered about his head, and the earth was under his feet.
And God walked, and where he trod, his footsteps hollowed the valleys out and bulged the mountains up. Then he stopped and looked and saw that the earth was hot and barren. So God stepped over to the edge of the world, and he spat out the 7 seas. He batted his eyes, and the lightnings flashed. He clapped his hands, and the thunders rolled. And the waters above the earth came down. The cooling waters came down.
Then the green grass sprouted, and the little red flowers blossomed. The pine tree pointed his finger to the sky, and the oak spread out his arms. The lakes cuddled down in the hollows of the ground, and the rivers ran down to the sea. And God smiled again, and the rainbow appeared and curled itself around his shoulder. Then God raised his arm, and he waved his hand over the sea and over the land, and he said,
Bring forth, bring forth.
And quicker than God could drop his hand, fishes and fowls and beasts and birds swam the rivers and the seas, roamed the forests and the woods, and split the air with their wings. And God said,
That's good.
Then God walked around, and God looked around on all that he had made. He looked at his sun, and he looked at his moon, and he looked at his little stars. He looked on his world with all its living things, and God said,
I'm lonely still.
Then God sat down on the side of a hill where he could think. By a deep, wide river he sat down with his head in his hands. God thought and thought till he thought,
I'll make me a man.
Up from the bed of the river God scooped the clay, and by the bank of the river he kneeled him down, and there the great God Almighty, who lit the sun and fixed it in the sky, who flung the stars to the most far corner of the night, who rounded the earth in the middle of his hand, this great God, like a mammy bending over her baby, kneeled down in the dust, toiling over a lump of clay.
Till he shaped it in his own image. Then into it he blew the breath of life, and man became a living soul. After God made the first man, Adam, he breathed a sleep upon him. Then he took out of Adam one of his ribs, and out of that rib made woman.
Woman, a complete mystery to men. How you see life circles and rings, how you can use just anything to get us all ahead. Sometimes in my wildest dreams I see you free, as you need to be from me. Woman, 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 women, woman, how do you see so deep within? How do you know how we must go where we have never been before, to get us all across? Sometimes it uneases me to face the truth of all that's due
God put the man and the woman together in the beautiful Garden of Eden. But one day, God called Adam before him, and he said to him,
Listen now, Adam. Of all the fruit in the garden you can eat, except of the tree of knowledge.
But God, this is the most beautiful tree in all of creation.
I know, and that's good.
It's good, and what could be more desirable than knowledge, especially good and evil?
Your life. For the day that you eat from that tree, you will die.
Woman! Woman! Woman!
My name is Eve.
All right, Eve, come here. Now, haven't I been good to you?
Yes, in more ways than one.
Listen, Eve, this is serious. Do you see all these beautiful trees in this garden? They're all yours, and you can have anything you want except fruit from this tree.
Why can't I eat the fruit from that tree?
Because God said that if we eat it, we will die.
Then pretty soon, along came Satan. Old Satan came like a snake in the grass to try out his tricks on the woman. I imagine I can see old Satan now, a-sidling up to the woman. I imagine the first word Satan said was,
Eve, you're surely good looking. Here, take this. It's for you.
Who is that?
That's a reflection of you.
Me? Really?
Can't you see that your skin is the rich brown color of the soil from which it was created, and your eyes shine like the rays of a golden sun, and your lips are pink like ripened peaches, and the way you move like a graceful rolling stream.
And Eve and Satan got friendly. Then Eve got to walking on shaky ground. Don't ever get friendly with Satan. And they started to talk about the garden.
Tell me how you like the fruit on the nice, tall, blooming tree standing in the middle of the garden.
Why, that's the forbidden fruit. And God told Adam that if we eat it, we will surely die.
God's fooling you, Eve.
He is.
Why, sure, baby. This is the sweetest fruit in the garden. Believe me, if you eat this forbidden fruit, you can bet your life that you won't surely die. Look, it's red, ripe, and juicy. Go on, taste it. You will never be the same.
And Eve took a taste. And then she offered it to Adam.
and Adam wasn't able to refuse. So he took a bite, and they both sat down and ate the forbidden fruit, and their eyes were both opened, and they knew that they were naked, and they hid themselves because of their shame.
In the cool of the day, God was walking around in the Garden of Eden. And except for the beasts eating in the fields, and except for the birds flying through the trees, the garden looked like it was deserted. And God called out and said,
Adam, Adam, where are you? Adam, don't be a fool. Don't you know that you cannot hide from God? What have you done? Have you broken my commandment?
I did, but it wasn't my fault. It was Eve, the woman that you created and gave to me. Why did you have to make her so smooth and so soft?
God! I can't help the way I am. But why did you have to make the snake so smart? The way he uses words. Why, no one has ever talked to me like that.
Adam, because you have eaten fruit from the forbidden tree. The ground will be cursed with thorns and thistles because of you. In the heat of the burning sun, you will toil and sweat all the days of your life just to have food, until you return to the ground from which you were made. Eve, your sorrow and conception will be greatly multiplied. In pain, you will bring forth children. Your desire will be for your husband, and he will rule over you.
This woman is bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. No longer will we be separate